Hello and welcome to episode 43 of Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Machad, from the sunny but still cold wilds of central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week, Matt Hoffman and I discuss grip technique, how you hold a handgun, grips, and what grip options you have on your handgun. So I will also talk about my recent experience with the Glock 42 and the XDS 4.0 9mm. So, as always, Handgun Radio is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network, and Brownells helps make handgun radio possible. Selection, service, and satisfaction. Find it all at Brownells. If you're doing any shopping with Brownells, please use our affiliate link, handgunradio.com/Brownells, to help support the show. So how you doing, Matt?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Not too bad. Been doing a little shooting this past week, I heard, with a bottom feeder, you traitor.
Yeah, I'm a turncoat.
So we'll head into the week in review, and we'll start with you, Matt. So how was your traitorous week here at the last match?
Oh, it was horrible. My poor little trigger finger didn't know what to do, going from an 8-pound revolver double action trigger pull to the little 4-pound short reset on this M&P. So I was really shooting like a communist, rushing through all the stages, and just going way too fast. So it wasn't anything the gun's fault. It was all mine. I still came in probably middle of the pack, but I could have done a lot better.
Now, what were you shooting for? What match?
I was shooting IDPA, so it was the more like the everyday match, basic carry gear. So
was there any reason you went to a semi-auto from your revolvers, or?
Basically getting ready for that world shoot. So I was having trouble making power factor, and got all my components together to try to make some 357 to make the 120 power factor and get me around 140. So I ran out of time. I could buy a 9mm everywhere, make power factor, and I was shooting pretty good with the M&P 9. So I was like, let's just quit stressing about it and shoot this. So I figured I can get probably 2 matches in with this gun and a real good practice day, and at least not look like a total idiot out there in front of everybody. So.
Well, it's going to be really different going from shooting revolvers pretty much all the time in matches to a semi-auto where the reloads are completely different, and the trigger, that must be the thing that trips you up the most, I would think.
Yeah, the trigger was the worst part of it. The mechanics of the reload, I still remembered all that. And the problem with the M&P, a lot of times, if you slam a mag home, the slide will go forward on its own. So I was automatically ejecting around, because every time I would slam the mag home, I'd go ahead and reach up to slingshot the slide, and it was already home. So I was wasting seconds there and wasting around. So it took a little while to get used to that, and I was moving to the target faster than my eyes could keep up, so I wasn't getting a good sight picture. So I was just really pushing it too fast. The gun wanted to go fast, but my mind wasn't.
Well, that's definitely something you gotta. I mean, it's a transition period between the two, because they're two very different platforms in terms of operation and stuff.
Yeah, I don't see how some of the like Julie Golub, she shoots both, and Jerry, of course, he's a god, so I can see how he could switch back and forth. But it's for me, it's pretty difficult just to jump from one to the other. So I need to
definitely
practice a little more.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you had a pretty good week. So I shot a Mossberg 500 with ATI furniture and a Magpul angled foregrip on the pump. At first, I wasn't really sure how that would affect my shooting, because it wasn't really something I had ever seen before, angled foregrip on the pump on the slide part of the shotgun. And I was so used to having a particular grip on the shotgun that the AFG, it just the different angle that it allowed me to have on the pump really allowed more control over the pump without radically altering my hold. So it was really awesome to see that that different grip there would actually give me a little bit of an performance improvement when it comes to working the shotgun.
Did it work better working the action, or actually holding it through recoil as well?
It was more work. Well, actually, it was sort of both. It was strange because you're so used to just like cupping the slide of the shotgun there in that your traditional pump action shotgun hold, where having your hand sort of like out forward and pulling back on it, it was just, I almost can't describe it. It was like you were pulling the foregrip back, and then you could like reach through the foregrip because it has a hole in the middle of it, and it allowed you more grip to pull the slide forward quicker without your hand maybe sliding off of it like it might do if you didn't have that foregrip there. So it wasn't something I had thought of doing like on my own, but seeing it and then using it, I was like, wow, that's actually a pretty nifty idea.
Yeah, I've seen it on some of the magazines, some of the combat shotguns. I didn't know how practical it was, or if it was just eye candy or not.
I thought the same thing. I thought it looked kind of awkward. And that was my worry. It's going to be kind of awkward, and it's one more thing hanging off the shotgun. But it really did offer quite a bit more control. I was really surprised.
Yeah, I've got one of my 1522, and I've never quite gotten used to it. Just 'cause it seems like a kind of an odd angle, even though it's supposed to put you in a better angle.
Right. So then, aside from that, we're going to talk about my trip to the range in just a second with the Glock 42 and the XDS 4.0. I'm really interested in the stuff I'm seeing come out about the Walther CCP. I know we talked about that last episode, but I actually saw a little bit more of a detailed strip down of the gun and a description of how it works, and it does utilize that gas piston system like the H&K P7, the squeeze cocker did. And so if that can use that system to its utmost advantage and get all the advantages that the HKP7 had, the low bore axis and that having the fixed barrel so it's really accurate, which the CCP does have a fixed barrel, it does not tilt. It's sure to be a hit because the P7 did have some of its disadvantages, like some people really didn't like the unorthodox safety mechanism, that squeeze cocking mechanism on the front. But the gas operation system that allowed for that fixed barrel with a service-size caliber really was awesome, and maybe the Walther CCP will fully realize that system's potential.
I definitely like to try it out. It's the first one that's really kind of piqued my interest enough to maybe check out something other than the shield I already have. It works, but that
It's
looks pretty interesting.
it seems like a lot of people are trying to go with that fixed barrel design with a service-size caliber without making it large and blocky like a high point or something. And like Remington, they went a different route with the Pedersen system, and they're having their issues. So maybe Walther can hit a home run with this. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
So we're going to move in. Before we go into the main topic, I just want to talk a little bit about the range session I had yesterday with the Glock 42 and the XDS 4.0 9mm, the long-awaited range session. So this weekend I got to shoot both those guns, and I was really, really impressed with both of them. And below in the show notes here, there are some links to the videos from both guns. And so I'll kind of start with my impressions of the Glock 42. I sort of have to eat crow on this one. I know I bashed this gun because it was not a 9mm. I said, why is it so large and not a 9mm? My dad's LCP is not that big. It's much smaller than this 42, and it's a 380. So why can't this be a 9mm? I'm now a convert. The first time I picked it up, its lack of weight was astounding. And the gun just felt great in the hand, but firing the first magazine and grouping all of my shots almost in a 1-inch circle and the gun barely recoiling just confirmed my suspicions that this would be a really good shooting 380 ACP pistol. It has great sights, the best sights I've seen on a 380 pistol yet. The only problem is they are plastic, like your typical Glock sights, so hopefully someone will come out with a metal edition, night sights perhaps. I'm sure they will. They probably already are out at the time of this recording here. And if they can fix the problems that I've heard they've had with the heavy for caliber 380 ACP ammo, this will be an awesome gun because even with those heavy, like 100 grain bullets, this gun is not going to kick that bad. I mean, I was shooting 95 grain full metal jacket, and it was like recoil of a 22, and the gun is not as big footprint wise as one of the baby Glocks. It's not even, it's hard to describe the size because it's like an in between, between the LCP and a baby Glock. It's some weird size that really no other gun I don't think has. Have you seen or held any one of these, Matt?
Yeah, I finally held it at the NRA show, and I really liked it. It felt good in the hand. The only thing that was just nagging me in the back of my mind was my buddy's not running, but it's improved, he's gotten probably, I guess, close to 400 rounds to it now. It seems to be getting a lot more reliable, but that was just it. But his buddies, it cleared up at 200, so it probably just had a little bit of a break-in period. But I kind of considered it for my wife, let her try his out just to see, because she's got the 380 bodyguard, and she just doesn't shoot it very well, but she can, smoke her little 36 J frame, and she shoots it real well. But she likes that flat profile when she's wearing, her suits and her dress clothes. So I may have to take a look at it, especially now that you're on board.
I mean, I didn't think so at first, to be honest with you, but the rapidity that you can put shots on target with this gun without it moving, it's just insane. And I know it's only 380, but the fact that you could put 6 rounds of 380 on your target, where you want it to go without a lot of recoil, it doesn't take much, strength to control the recoil, and you can just put shots down range where you want them just as quick as can be. And yeah, it's only 6 shots, but it's just a magazine change. It's not like, a speed load or something like that with a 5-shot J frame. It's just a mag change. So I mean, 380 is not the greatest caliber in the world. I will give you that. If you could carry something bigger, fine. But for a gun this size, I can't help but recommend it. I mean, I would consider getting one myself.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Glock. It's just always been their, we're the best, we're awesome. I think the hype is what turned me off when it first came out. Because there's going to be a gun for everybody. That may not be your gun, may not be my gun, or this other guy's gun, but then somebody's going to just love that gun. It's going to fill every need that they have. So, but it is
Well,
smaller than what I thought it was.
yeah, that was a big thing. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is not it. Like I said, it's like nothing in terms of size like I've seen before.
Yeah, I thought it was LC9 size when it first came out through the ads and hearing people talk, but it's a little bit bigger than the regular 380 class gun that's out now. So it is kind of in between.
Right.
But it's a handy size, and obviously from the videos, it's a controllable size.
Definitely. And then the other one that I shot this weekend that I was really intrigued by when I first saw the videos from SHOT Show was the Springfield XDS 4.0 9mm. Now, the XDS 4.0 takes from the playbook of a small grip frame with a long slide, like we talked about last week. And this gun is really executed well, good craftsmanship, wonderful sights, really accurate gun. I was able to put shots on target really fast, really accurately. The trigger is pretty good too. It comes with 2 magazines, one of which fits flush with the grip of the frame, and the other one gives you sort of like a pinky extension, and it sort of makes it into a more service size length grip frame, maybe a compact grip frame, and it's done really well. And I really don't care for grip safeties, but this one is done a little bit better than the bigger XDs. It's way high up, right underneath the tang, right underneath the beaver tail there, and it really, I didn't even notice it when I was shooting. And I've shot some of the larger XDs, and I did notice the grip safety where it's down a little bit lower. So I think they did that right on the 4.0. So it's very thin, and I really highly recommend it if you're looking for a nice IWB gun for concealed carry. That longer slide gives you a lot longer sight radius, more potential accuracy, and a little bit more controllability, especially with the plus P 9mm loads that you might want to carry.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot better. I shot the 45 in the, what is it, 3.3 or whatever, the shorter version, the original version, and it shot great. And I look forward to a 9. For some reason, I didn't like the grip of it. It fit fine. I shot well with it, but I just don't know. It kind of gets us into our topic of the night, the grip. But it didn't fit my hand real well. For some reason, I didn't like it. But that 4.0, I don't know, the balance of it felt a lot better to me also at the show. So I'd really like to put some
Definitely.
rounds through it, and the 9 especially.
And having the option of having that longer grip frame, say you're a person with a larger hand or whatever, that allows you to easily modify that to fit you.
Yeah.
And that's actually a pretty good segue into our main topic. So we're going to head into the main topic, which is going to be grips and grip technique. So when shooting a handgun, the fit of the gun is extremely important, and this can't be overstated. Making sure that the firearm fits properly in your hand will allow you to have proper control of the gun, both during trigger manipulation and recoil. Now, improper fit can cause you to use improper trigger technique, and that can lead to a loss of accuracy and maybe making the handgun painful to fire. It can also lead to improper recoil control, which may also hurt you. So you don't want that, obviously. So there are a few remedies here. Changing the grips on the handgun, if it is possible. Some guns you can't do this. It can oftentimes make the gun fit a little bit better for you and allow the proper control. Sometimes, though, we sort of got to accept the fact that no matter what grip we put on the gun, it's just too big or too small, whatever the case may be, to fit our hand, and we got to find one that does. Thankfully, many of the modern striker fire handguns are coming with multiple grips or grip adapters that you can put on the back that will allow for a wider range of hand sizes to utilize the firearm. We're just going to go over some of the different types of grips that are out there that may assist you in making the gun fit you better. And then at the end, we're kind of go over some techniques or pointers or, don'ts maybe in handling the handgun. So we're going to start off with the first grips. And I don't know, when did you buy your J-frame, Matt?
The first one was years and years ago. It's a early model 36, so it had the little splinter grips on it. Then the latest one I bought was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It's a 642, so it had Crimson Trace laser grips on it, which are kind of a plastic and rubber combo.
I've heard a lot of good things about the Crimson Trace grips, and those kind of fall into the boot grip section that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But that 36 that you picked up, and this is especially true with the J-frames, the splinter or factory wood grips on the smaller guns. On the Colt Detective Special, they sort of had a different shape, but they were still basically just two pieces of wood slapped together, on either side of the grip frame. And we'll also, when we talk about this, we'll have the distinction of round butt or square butt. Now, the round butt grips are rounded at the bottom. Typically, the square butt grips sort of flare out at the bottom, and so those are the different frame styles in terms of a grip frame. But the splinter grips were put on Smith & Wesson J-frames right up until, I think, Smith & Wesson switched to synthetics in the early 90s, right around then. The splinter grips, they are just basically two pieces of rounded wood checkered with a medallion on either side of the grip frame. They don't cover the front strap or the back strap, and they leave a large space between the front strap and the back of the trigger guard. Now, this allows you to have your hand really high up in the back of the trigger guard and on the back of the gun, on the back strap near the hammer, but it can cause some discomfort under recoil with that trigger guard hitting you in the knuckle under recoil. So the folks with smaller hands may find the splinter grips comfortable to grip, but maybe not so comfortable under recoil. So there are methods of sort of fixing this. Some people choose to install the classic Tyler T grip or the more available and modern BK grip adapter to fill in the space between the front strap and the trigger guard. And basically what you have is the T grip is this curved piece of metal that fills in the space, and it has two brass shims that go underneath the grip panels, and then you tighten the grip panels, and that's how it holds that grip adapter there. The T-grip is kind of hard to obtain nowadays. The company is small and makes batches of them or makes them one at a time as the order comes in, so it's not really something you can go and just buy on Amazon. But the setup is really good for pocket carry because it allows for a smooth, stick-free grip with the space filled in. One of the problems that you can have with pocket carry is that the grips may be made out of a material that might be a little bit sticky, might be tacky to help improve your purchase on the firearm. Well, that's going to catch on that pocket material when you go to pull it out. So having something like the wood grips with that T grip may be a more viable alternative. Have you ever had any of these, Matt, or anything like the splinter grips, like you said, with that 36?
Yeah, they didn't work for me. They fit real well. They felt great in the hand, but I had that knuckle rattle, and every time you would shoot it, it was coming down, hitting that knuckle, and so we ended up putting the Hogues on it. But like I said, the wood was beautiful. It felt good in my small hands, but it just a couple shots and I was done.
Well, and that's the hard thing too. They look great. I completely agree with you. And if I could have found the T grip or even easily purchased the BK grip adapter, I may have gone that route rather than buying the wooden boot grips like I did. But I mean, they look great. They have the S&W medallion, but if you're looking for something for like quick double action work, they're not the greatest option because you're probably going to be in some sort of pain by the time you're done shooting.
Yeah, I'd like to try the Tyler T grip. I've handled a, Model 10 2.5 inch barrel with them on it, and it really drastically changed the feel of it. But like I said, I haven't shot them with it on there, so I'd like to. I'm probably going to order a set for that 27 just to try it out with the wood grips and the Ultimates I've ordered for it.
Definitely, yeah. That's if you want to keep the factory grips, that's really your only option to make it more comfortable to shoot, especially on the smaller guns. So we will move into the next category here, and this is the one that this is my favorite grip, I would have to say. These are the boot grips, and these could be had in synthetic plastic, rubber, or smooth wood. The boot grip functions much in the same way that the Tyler T grip adapter does. The boot grip does not cover the back strap, and that's an important distinction because a grip that covers the back strap of the revolver, and most of these grips we're going to talk about are revolvers because a lot of semi-autos, they'll have the custom grips, but they typically follow the same profile as the factory grips. Whereas, a revolver, you can get all different shapes and sizes that will fit your hand. So something not covering the back strap basically alters the way in which your finger falls on the trigger when you go to grab the gun. So something with a covered back strap may pull your finger back on the trigger a little bit and may only make you have the tip of your finger on the trigger. Something without a covered back strap may allow you to get a little bit more purchase on that for some quick double action work. So that can make a difference depending upon your hand size and the length of your fingers. But the boot grip also fills in the front strap area to allow for better control and comfort. The boot grip typically does not extend below the bottom of the metal grip frame at all. Some models may just a little bit, but typically not at all. And that allows for maximum concealability, especially with pocket carry. I think the boot grips are a really great choice. They're a great combination of concealability but controllability for pocket carry. Personally, I have some Altamont silver black wood boot grips on my Model 60 Smith & Wesson, and they're wonderful. They allow for great pocket carry, being smooth wood, very slick, and they position my finger perfectly on the trigger for that fast and accurate DA work with the gun. Have you ever had any boot grips on your gun? I know you said you had the Crimson Trace ones, right, Matt?
Yeah, that's pretty similar to the boot grip, but I've also got, or my wife kind of took over the 36, so she's got the pink Hogue boot grip on her 36. And it just, the perfect size, especially for her purse, where she normally carries that one. They don't get snagged, and real low profile.
Now, does it cover the bottom of the grip frame, or is it open?
It's open.
It's
You can see
open.
the entire back strap and the bottom of the strap.
Okay, I haven't actually handled any of the Hogue ones. When I was looking for boot grips, I looked at the Hogue ones. I was kind of concerned at the tackiness of them.
They're tacky, but I haven't run into a problem coming out of the pocket with them. Some
Okay.
of their, the larger Hogues, they're real tacky, but I guess they tune it down a little bit for the J frames. I guess they know it's going to be the high probability of it being a pocket holster or a pocket carry. So they're not quite, I don't know, they're a little harder material and not quite as tacky,
Right.
but not being full on plastic or synthetic.
So boot grips are an awesome choice. Pocket carry, maximum concealability. So kind of moving out of the concealability realm and into the little bit more larger handgun realm. The factory would target quote unquote stocks or the Coke bottle grips. So I know Matt just picked up or just found his target stocks tonight for his Smith & Wesson Model 29. But both the factory target grips and the Coke bottle grips are similar in construction and function. They have a very large flare at the bottom of the grips. The target grips have a little bit larger ones than the Coke bottle grips, and they narrow towards the top. Now, the Coke bottle grips have a slight palm swell in the center of the grips if you're looking at them directly from behind, so they almost take on an old Coke bottle shape, hence the name. These stocks are rarely comfortable except for those people with really large hands. I have fairly large hands, and the wood target grips on my Model 19 really aren't the greatest for quick double action firing. That swell at the bottom of the grips really makes it difficult to have a good hold on it. It just kind of feels like the gun's going to squirm out of your hand. Have you ever fired any with the factory target grips, with the Coke bottle grips, Matt?
I had some on my Model 10. It was a 10-2, I think it was, and they didn't really work for me all that well. Well, like I said, I've got the smaller hands, so they felt like they were wedging out. It wasn't repeatable. I get one or two shots off, and I was always readjusting to get back into position.
It
So I just
feels like
kind of set them off to the side.
the gun slips down in your hand.
Yeah, even with the they had the check ring on the side, but didn't seem like it was enough. So I ended up swapping them out pretty quickly.
I almost always find that the Splinter factory grips, like we talked about before, were always more comfortable, and I could really bear down on them. Even with the factory target stocks, it feels like even if I bear down on them and really have a strong hold, there it feels like it's still going to slip out of my hand.
Yeah, they're beautiful to look at, but I don't think they're as practical as some of the newer choices now.
Right. So moving into the more practical choices here, the Hogue Packmeyer rubber grips, and I know you have a lot more experience with these than I do, Matt. So why don't you take this one?
Yeah, these are both real similar, different materials, and it's something you're gonna end up spending money and maybe trading out. The Packmeyers fit well in my hand, but I don't like the material they're made out of. They're a little harder plastic or harder rubber, I should say, and they just don't have as much recoil absorption as the Hogues do. I like the texture of the Hogues a lot better. It's a softer material. As far as candidate on the shirt, the Packmeyers are probably better, but as far as planking and shooting in competition, the Hogues are a lot tackier, and I like the pebble finish on them a lot better than the diamonds on the Packmeyer. So, but that's personal preference. You see a lot of both at the matches and everything. The Hogues, they're notorious for putting the finger grooves on there. I know you're not a fan of those either, and
Ugh.
my hands just don't fall in line with those finger grooves. And I've never heard anybody say, "Man, those finger grooves are perfect." So I don't know why everybody insists on keep on putting them on there.
I don't understand. I mean, for one, typically the rubber grips are going to be very I found that the Pachmeyer ones, my Model 19 when I first got it, it came with Pachmeyer presentation grips on it, and those were obviously made out of rubber, but it was a very smooth rubber. The Hogues are a lot more tacky. They're more malleable. The rubber is very soft as opposed to the harder, like almost plasticky type rubber that the Pachmeyers are made out of. And so the gun's not going to move in your hand. So I don't see why in the hell you need those finger grips because when you come out of the holster, what if your fingers are on top of the ridges or the gun isn't positioned right in your hand? You're not going to have the ability to, on the fly, shift your grip on the handgun because those finger grooves are going to keep your hand locked in where it is.
Yeah, the only thing I can figure is they're thinking that's going to be, a tactile, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just it's going to force you into position. So every time you're going down, you're automatically going into the same position. So that's the only thing I can, think of why they would, consistently put them on there.
Well, yeah, if I was grabbing the gun while looking at it and able to take my hand and say, okay, there's one groove, there's the next groove, and there's the next one, maybe that would be the case, but it's like the only time that I could probably see finger grooves being really advantageous maybe is if you had something that was like maybe a 454 Casull and you a double action and you needed something to keep the gun from rolling back in your hand. Those finger grooves might give you a little bit more leverage, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, if you
But
have time to really get in position, they probably help. I know they help on me when I'm shooting offhand in competition. If I'm shooting a 45, they do help then, but only then is that I really need them. So
right, so it's for 99% of the stuff you're going to do with a double action revolver, those finger grooves, or even with an auto, really. I mean, I've seen a lot of the Hogue and Pachmeyer wraparound grips that go on the 1911 have those finger grooves, and it's like there's only like one finger groove, and it's okay. So what the hell is that going to do on there?
yeah, then you're getting away from the whole thinness and compact grip of the 1911. So it's just kind of taking you away from what makes that gun so awesome in the first place.
Right. I mean, the Hogan Packmeyer grips, they can offer a lot of comfort. Now, don't misunderstand us here. We say we don't like the finger grooves, and yes, some Hogue grips, a lot of Hogue grips come with the finger grooves, but a lot of them don't, too. And if you don't like the Hogue, you can go with the Packmeyer. I don't think Packmeyer has as much of a market presence as Hogue does anymore. I think they kind of stopped. I mean, I haven't seen much of them factory new stuff from them in a while.
They've got a
Um,
new one out for 2014. I've got one on order, so I'll let you know how that goes. But it's supposed to be a little more grippy and have a recoil absorbing prothane, or I can't remember the one they actually call it, but it's on the back strap, so it's an enclosed back strap. So
that's
you might not
interesting
like it
because
as well.
I haven't seen as much. Well, a lot of the Packmeyers have the closed backstrap, but I haven't seen them advertising a lot of anything. I mean, you see Hogue everywhere.
Yeah,
So it seems maybe Packmeyer doesn't have as much of an advertising budget or something, but I didn't even realize they were still making grips.
yeah, they've fallen under, was it Lyman
Oh,
companies
okay.
now, so I guess they've got a lot of other brands that they push rather than the Packmeyer. But
Right. Well,
so
Lyman owns quite a few brands, I think, don't they?
yeah, if you get the Lyman catalog, there's quite a few that's falling under them now. And
So,
Hogue also makes synthetic grips as well now too. Um, that aren't the rubber, the like the G10 type grip for the
oh, yeah.
revolvers as well. And they were awesome. I played around with them quite a bit at the show, so they have more than just rubber. They have rubber and wood, so there's a lot of hybrid as well that fall under Hogue.
Well, yeah, isn't the one that is on the match champion that wooden grip? That's a Hogue grip, isn't it?
Yep,
Yeah.
and it's
So,
totally different than what's in their line as well. And it felt really good in the hand, so I will give
well,
them that.
well, hell, they got something right on the match champion then, didn't they?
Yeah, like I said, it was pretty instinct. You go down, grab a hold of it, it felt pretty damn good. So
Excellent. So those are a good choice. They may not be the most aesthetically pleasing for those of us like me who like the look of wood grips on their guns. So for those of you who do like the look of fancy wood grips, though, we have a last category here for the types of grips, and I sort of just lumped them all together, and it's wooden specialty grips. So a number of different custom grip makers are out there for you to utilize. I personally use Altamont for my J-frame, but they are a somewhat larger company. They have a bunch of different product lines that they produce, and they'll have a stock of inventory for each one of the holsters they produce. But there are custom grip makers such as Aaron's that can make a grip that will fit to your personal specifications. Oftentimes, not always, these grip makers will work with you to pick the particular wood that you want on your handgun. They'll take and they'll match those wood pieces that you choose so the grain matches on both sides of the grip and it goes in a nice aesthetically pleasing fashion. And there are hundreds, I mean probably even thousands maybe, but at least I know of hundreds of different grip shapes, each of which has their distinct advantages and disadvantages. And depending upon your needs, you can work with that grip maker and they will say, okay, so this is some of the characteristics you want for this gun based upon what your needs are. They can take a measurement of your hand and manufacture the grip just right so your finger falls in the proper place on the trigger each and every time. Some grip manufacturers may not do that. That's sort of a more specialized thing, but there are people out there who do that. There are some links in the show notes to some of my favorites, and some of my favorites are Badger grips, Eagle grips, and Esmeralda grips, along with Aaron's that were mentioned above. Have you had any experiences or even seen some of these, Matt?
yeah, I've seen them. I've seen some of the Esmeralda grips, and they're beautiful. You're paying for it, but they're a beautiful grip. Eagle makes another one. The Badger is nice as well. I haven't really shot around with them all that much, but and like you said, some of them you can take a tracing of your hand, send it in, and they'll craft a grip to fit your hand perfectly. I'd like to spend the money to do that sometime just to see, maybe what my grip should be. To
Well, and I've been interested in like the woods that they use because they use some pretty exotic woods in some of these different grips, and they can really depending upon the gun, whether it's blued or stainless, you can pick some woods that will really accent the finish of the gun and really make it, really appealing to the eye.
Yeah, that's what I always wanted to do on that 27.2 of mine. I've wanted a barbecue gun for a long time, so I've picked that one. It's got the nicest one I've seen for quite a while. So I've been trying to figure out what I want to put on it. So I'll probably spend the money to have some nice grips made for it, but then choosing the wood that you want to go with, that's a whole problem in itself.
Well, and the best part is they'll match the wood pieces, so you're not getting, one piece of wood that has a certain grain and then another one that has a different grain.
Yeah, but like I said, it's high end. If you decide you don't like the look once you get it, though, you're
Right?
pretty
Yeah,
screwed. Yeah.
you're going to be looking at around. I've seen them from anywhere from $80 to up to 150. So it all depends on your options, the selections you make when you're purchasing the grips and the type of wood you choose and the amount of work that goes into it. So it is pricey, but if you're looking for something to dress up that favorite handgun or revolver of yours, those are definitely a good choice.
Now you get what you pay for in that realm.
Absolutely. So we're going to move on to sort of some pointers about grip technique on the handgun, and if you have anything, Matt, to add in anywheres, just please jump right in.
Okay.
So, like I stated before, your grip technique on the handgun is really the number one key to proper control. It's also really important the gun you choose has all the controls placed in such a way that they can be manipulated without you shifting your grip, or with you shifting your grip in the tiniest way possible. Guns with slide-mounted safeties are notorious for forcing the shooter to shift his or her grip in order to manipulate it. These guns are, like the Smith & Wesson 59, the older Smith & Wesson autos before the M&P series, and like stuff like the Beretta autos with the slide-mounted safety, and all their, kin like the Taurus and stuff like that. Even people who have larger hands, like myself, have a trouble with the safeties on those guns. They're great guns, don't misunderstand me, but they require that you shift your grasp pretty substantially to manipulate it. And, when you're trying to run a handgun really smoothly and really quickly, efficiency is key. And, for something to have, I know the SIGs don't have a manual safety, but pretty much all the controls on a SIG are right within the reach of the firing hand, the hand that's holding the gun. So, they're really efficient in terms of that. How do you feel about this, Matt?
Yeah, sometimes you just got to put your pride aside and say a gun doesn't work. The SIGs, I really like the SIGs. I love the way they look. They run, but they just don't fit my hand. I can't reach the decocker. I can't reach the slide release. It's not a good fit for me. I'd like to try some, their new grip. Was it the E2 grip? And maybe that short reset trigger to see if, that combo would work. But then you're getting a $700 gun that you're, having to put more money into to try to adapt it when there's some out there right now that I can work and not have to worry about it. So
Now, have you ever worked with any of the guns with the slide-mounted safeties?
no, not I was the 5906 a little bit. Some of the earlier Smiths and the I can't remember the other one, but it didn't work for me. I have really short thumbs, so it's not a good choice for me at all.
It's definitely it's like even me, I have fairly large hands and it's really difficult for me to manipulate that safety slash decocker. Like my first time I ever encountered something like that was on a Walther P38, but it's very similar on the 59 and on the Berettas, and it's just more difficult for me to manipulate. So remember that efficiency when you're looking at the way the handgun fits your hand. And also, like we said before, you got to keep in mind where your trigger finger falls in relation to the trigger. You typically want the trigger to fall somewhere on the first pad of your finger. Any further than that, and you risk pulling the barrel off to either side when you press the trigger. Altering the grip on your handgun can put the trigger further down on your finger or more towards the tip. But on revolvers, altering where your trigger falls can be achieved by changing to a grip that covers the back strap, or doesn't, depending upon your needs, or even incorporates a slight palm swell, which will bring your hand a little bit further out to the side and increase a little bit of that distance from the back strap to the face of the trigger. So, have you ever encountered that problem, Matt, where you have a grip that just makes your trigger finger almost wrap way around the trigger?
Yeah, there's several, even with the I don't know if you tried the Pro Series 9 millimeter Smith 1911. It has wooden grips on it, but they got a palm swell on it, and it feels a lot like some of the revolver grips, and it just puts my finger at an odd angle. So, that's on a 1911. So I can imagine, on some of the earlier guns, if they had a swell on them. But that's one of the beauties of the revolver, that there's a million grips out there. You can tailor it exactly where you want it. Works well for you.
Well, and it's crazy to think that such a small alteration to the grip can affect how far your finger sits on that trigger. I mean, you look at the different grips and it's like, oh, there's not that much difference, but it really does make a difference when you go about holding the gun.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be. It's not like it's a 2 inch, measurement. It's millimeters that really change the length of pull. Just going to the slim grips versus the regular factory grips on a 1911 makes a huge difference. And the math doesn't really show it, but the actual feel in the hand does. I put the slim grips on all mine, even the I have the MC Operator Springfield 1911, and it comes factory with the Pacmeyer wraparound grips, and just that little bit of rubber in the front increases the grip size. It's not substantial, but it all adds up. So I end up putting
Definitely.
the slim lines on it and just putting skateboard tape on the front strap, and get back a little more real estate.
Well, and that's the other thing to not discount. If you need a little bit more traction on the gun, a little bit more of a grip, adding a little strip of skateboard tape in the right spot can help out too.
Yeah, I tend to like my guns a little more tacky than the smooth gun, so grip is my friend.
So also another thing I wanted to kind of touch on, recoil is also a really important factor when it comes to gripping the handgun. I've seen many uninstructed first-time shooters holding the handgun way down on the grip. Almost having an inch between the web of their hand and the beaver tail or the tang. And this will cause the gun to pivot, obviously under recoil, as the bore is much higher above the hand than was intended. And instructing people in the proper grip with the web of the hand tucked tightly underneath the tang will prevent any injuries to the shooter, and it's going to allow them to be far more accurate with their handgun. And if they're out there and they're shooting and they're not, hitting what they're aiming at, they're going to become disappointed. So the first step before you put any rounds downrange is to make sure that these people understand how to hold the handgun. So that way they can be successful with it and hopefully become lifelong shooters. Have you ever seen that at the range, Matt?
Well, yeah, I've seen it Saturday, as a matter of fact. There was a guy,
Saturday.
yeah, the guy was shooting. He was probably getting close to 60 years old, and you could stick another finger between the web of his hand and the beaver tail. He was shooting an M&P also, and that gun was just moving around. It was a 9, so it wouldn't have had that much recoil. And one of the other guys, he was he's an instructor and was an instructor in the Air Force, and he tried to explain to the guy, and the guy would have nothing of it. That's the way he had shot forever. And that's the way he was going to continue to shoot. And I'm sure he would have done a lot better just moving up 1 inch on that grip, and he just wouldn't have any part of it.
It just makes a huge difference when you can dig in with the web of your hand right underneath that grip, because you can just bear down the gun and control that recoil so you're right back on target immediately after the gun fires.
Yeah, it barely rocks up. The lower you go, the more it rocks back.
Right. I mean, that's why, there's this huge obsession with lower bore axis, lower bore axis. That's going to make, that the next generation of autos are going to have that lower bore axis, and that's the reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's physics. There's no other way around it.
That's right. So moving on to the last little bit here, grip shape tends to alter the recoil characteristics of the handgun. And Matt, you can probably second me on this. I've shot both the Model 29 in 44 and the Ruger Blackhawk in 44, 44 Magnum, that is. And I've heard a lot of people say, damn, that Model 29 and 44 Magnum hurts the hell out of my hand. Yet then I'll see that same person shoot a Ruger Blackhawk in 44 with a single action, plow handle style grip without any problems. Oh, that's not that bad. The difference is in the grip shape. The Smith & Wesson grip is optimized for double action shooting because it's a double action revolver. But the Ruger uses the classic single-action plow handle shape, like the Colt single-action Army had and stuff like that. Maybe a little bit of an alteration, but pretty much similar. And this causes the gun to roll in the hand. Oftentimes, the rolling action, it's far more comfortable as the recoil energy takes a different path than it does with the grip that's optimized for double action work, like on the 29. You've shot both handguns, I'm sure, Matt. Have you noticed a little bit of a difference there?
Yeah, we had this discussion a year ago. I would have said you were a liar because I had shot the 29 some and really didn't care for it, running the full house Magnum loads, wood grips. But then I picked up a J.P. Sauer and Sons single action 44 mag that wasn't working. So I got it back together, and went out, got a box of 44. At least I'd say I shot it before I sold it. And man, it was a pleasure to shoot. It was nothing like shooting at 29. I shot that whole box and had no ill effects. Where probably 2 cylinders out of the 29, I'm done. My hand's taking quite a beating. It's night and day difference, and it shocked the hell out of me, really. But just the way, like you said, it just rolls back in the hand instead of taking it all to the wrist.
Well, and that's the thing. You got to think. I mean, if you can kind of visualize in your head the shape of the Peacemaker style grip, the plow handle style, like on the single actions, and then that Model 29 grip. The Model 29 grip is going to direct a lot more of that recoil energy straight back into the web of your hand, and that's just going to go right up your arm. So you're going to feel every shot, and that's going to hurt. But with that roll, it's almost like a lot of that recoil energy is being taken up in the rolling of the gun when it goes back in your hand.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Like I said, it's quite surprising.
I mean, there's a reason that you see a lot more 500 Linbaws and 475 Linbaws and a lot more heavy recoiling revolver calibers in a single action than you do in a double action. Barring the 480 Ruger and the 454 and the 500.
Yeah, I'd like to have a 460 in a single action as a companion gun to my 460 Smith.
Now, how does the 460 shoot? Because I know that you have that bigger one. You've shot full house loads out of that. I mean, compared to the 44 mag in the single action, what do you think of that one?
Well, I had the 44 Hunter Performance Center, and I would shoot this 460 all day compared to that 44 as far as felt recoil in the hand. The 460 is a lot heavier, so I think that has something to do with it. It's almost 4 pounds. So, that eats up, plus you got the compensator on it. My 629 wasn't compensated. The only thing is the concussion off the round. It really opens up your sinuses. But as far as recoil, I'd rather have the heavy gun and the compensator than the 29 as far as shooting for an extended period of time.
Well, and I do like the fact that you can run the 45 Colt, the 454 Casull, and the 460 through that. I mean, I can't imagine a 45 Colt in that big gun.
Oh, it's a puff. I mean, it's like just 130 grain, 38 through it, or really even lighter. The feeling, it's just you could shoot it all day long. It's just a pleasure shooting. The 454, it's hard to tell much difference between the 454 and the 460 when you start getting hot 454.
454 is a real snappy caliber, though. It's never been a real a gentle push or anything. It's always been a real snappy round.
Yeah, I was enamored by it. That was the main reason I wanted the 460 was just the fact that I could run the 454 through it. And I was wanting to try some handgun hunting, so like this way I could shoot anything I wanted out of it. But like I said, it's
put 460 in it and take it for a safari.
Oh yeah, if I go after a raptor or Tyrannosaurus, I'll be set.
All right, well, that about wraps up the main topics. We're going to head into the wrap-up section. So don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link, handgunradio.com/Brownells. Be sure to go over and like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends. I've been posting some new stuff over there, including Wish Wednesday, which is when I post pictures of dream guns that you guys can ogle over. I think last week we posted a bunch of pictures of a Smith & Wesson triple lock and then some beautiful Colt Pythons. So be sure to go over and check that out. And also I post the links to the video reviews that are up there for you guys. So be Be sure to like us on Facebook and share it. Also, leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps the show in the iTunes standings and helps it get noticed. And be sure to listen to all the great shows on the Firearms Radio Network, including the AR-15 podcast. Reed and JW Ramp over there do a great job talking about everyone's favorite black rifle. So be sure to subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher Radio and like them on Facebook as well. And be sure to visit the Firearms Insider for reviews and SHOT Show 2014 coverage. There is a written review of the Glock 42 that we talked about this episode over there by Ryan Cross that was just recently posted, so be sure to go and check that out. Matt, is there anything you'd like to plug here?
Yeah, I'm going to go for the fundanything.com/patent troll to keep that fight going so that we're not charged for podcasting as listeners. I think we all need to be watching out, and I want to plug gutlevelgear.com or facebook.com, Gut Level Gear. Great hosters. I've gotten several more from him. Been using them every day. Really like them, and he's working a lot of revolver designs as well. So
what's going on with that patent troll thing? What, charging people for podcasts?
Yeah, what they're doing, they're buying. It's a bunch of attorneys buying just kind of obscure patents and buying it for say $5,000. Then they go and go after some of the bigger podcasters and sue them, saying it's infringement for technology. So they're wanting to settle out of court for like $2 million, or if you take it to court, then they can possibly get large amounts of money. But this is podcasting, just two people, 10 people talking and putting something out. So it's not really a product. So it's kind of just a BS way to get money for doing nothing. Most people are probably just going to settle, so they're getting $1-2 million at a pop. So you figure right now they went after Adam Carolla and one other one, but they're some of the biggest podcasts out there right now. But if they start winning, eventually we're probably going to have to go to subscriptions and stuff like that if they were to win. So instead of paying out, Adam Carolla decided to go ahead and fight them. So he's making a legal defense fund, really. So I do some money over there because I don't want to, pay for podcasts. I want to keep it free and friendly.
Right. That's ridiculous. God forbid we get to spread any free knowledge or free education. I mean, it's getting ridiculous out there. Yeah. So
these guys
go ahead.
Oh, these guys, haven't invented anything. They haven't done anything except for buy up some obscure piece and then decide to go after somebody for it. So.
No, absolutely. Go visit that, and if you can contribute, for sure, go ahead and do that, and let's make sure they don't try to win a big case here. So, well, thank you, Matt, for coming on this week's episode of Handgun Radio.
Thanks for having me.
And that about wraps it up for this week. So until next week, have fun and safe shooting.